Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Show, your source for insightful analysis and enlightening discussions. Hello, I'm Michael Bull. Thanks for joining us on one of the 42 radio stations on iTunes, on YouTube, or on the show website, commercialrealestateshow.com. Well, we have a fantastic show for you today. We're going to discuss REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust. You know, REITs are a great way to achieve most all the benefits that you get from investing in commercial real estate. So we're going to start off quickly with some of the basics, and then we'll get into more in-depth discussions regarding REITs. Please welcome my guests, Brad Case and Calvin Schnure. They're with NAREIT, the National Association of Real Estate Investment Trusts, and they're joining us today on Skype. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
That's a pleasure, Michael.
Thanks for having us back.
Well, we appreciate it. It was very enlightening last year, and there's certainly been a lot going on with commercial real estate and the stock market and the economy, so I'm anxious to hear from you guys and see what's going on now. And to get us started, for some of our listeners, what's the quick definition of, hey, what is a REIT?
Well, REIT is a company whose main business is the ownership of real estate assets. There are two basic kinds of REITs. There are what we call equity REITs, which are companies that own properties. They can own lots of different kinds of properties, but their income comes from the lease rents that their tenants pay for being in those properties. And then the second kind of REIT is called a mortgage REIT, and its assets are real estate debt, maybe loans, maybe mortgage-backed securities, and their income comes from the payments that the borrowers make on that debt. So REITs are a way for individuals to invest in the real estate asset class, either on the equity side, the buildings, or the debt side.
Okay, and then you have what, public REITs and public non-listed REITs and private REITs. Tell us the difference on those three.
Yeah, so public REITs are companies that have filed, that have met requirements from the SEC so that they can make their investments available to any investor. Public REITs come in two types. They're what we call listed REITs. They're traded on a stock exchange. And I think there are 198 REITs right now. They're traded on the New York Stock Exchange, for example, out of I think 224 total publicly traded REITs. There are also public REITs that are not traded on exchanges. And then separately, we have what we call private REITs, and we don't really know anything about that. They meet the requirements for a REIT, but they're not available for you and me to invest in. And so we don't really have any idea how many there are, what kind of investments they make, what kind of returns they provide their investors. But so we don't really have much to say about them because they're not available to investors.
I see. They're not available to investors online, so therefore they also may not be as liquid, correct?
Yeah, liquidity isn't really a concern for private REITs. We have no idea what their liquidity situation is.
Right. Okay. And so there's about 224 public REITs today.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
224 public listed REITs
Right.
in the FTSE NAREIT All REITs Index.
Okay.
There are also about 70 others that are public, that are not listed, that are sold through brokers and financial advisors.
Okay. And so for those REITs, people can go online and invest in them. They're very liquid. And to invest in private REITs, they just got to find a way to do that privately, right?
Yeah, there's no real way to invest in a private REIT. Mm-hmm. It's not made available for investment. So investors can either purchase stock in a listed REIT just the way they purchase stock in any other company, IBM or Apple or something like that, or if they get into a public non-listed REIT, as Calvin says, the way they do that is that they work through a broker who gives their money to the REIT to invest.
Okay, and how do investors do their due diligence if they want to invest in REITs, they understand REITs at this point, and now they're looking at the various REITs? How do they do their due diligence on the underlying properties and on the sponsors and on past performance?
So there are a couple of things that you should be looking at. Number one, when you're investing in a single REIT, you're investing in the particular portfolio of properties that they have. So you want to know something about the types of properties that they invest in, and most publicly traded REITs focus on a particular property type, apartment properties or retail properties, and in fact, often a subtype, such as large regional shopping malls. And then on top of that, they also invest in a particular place in the country. Most large REITs have portfolios all around the country, but some of them do focus on, the Southeast or New York City or the West Coast or areas like that. So you want to have a sense of what are the economic conditions for that property type and in that part of the market. And then the third thing that you want to pay attention to is the ownership of the REIT. For example, one of the main things that determines how successful any investment is the question, does the manager understand what they are especially good at and focus on that? And so REITs will tend to have either a geographic focus or a property type focus, but you want the management to understand what they're good at and make sure that that's what they're spending their time on.
And how do you figure that
Let me
out?
also add that there's quite a bit of information available for someone who wants to do the due diligence for the publicly traded listed REITs. First of all, their financial reports are all available online through their website, through the SEC's website. They're registered with the SEC. Plus, the larger ones are all followed by equity analysts. There are equity analyst reports over most of these major REITs and all the sectors. There's a lot of information that you can find out before you put your money down.
And Calvin, is that how you'd figure out a little bit more about the sponsors, about the managers?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
Is that how you'd find out more about the sponsors, the people managing the REIT?
Yeah, you can find out lots of information about the management, the whole structure of how it's run, what their costs are, the management structure. That's all available. They're very transparent. It's not something where you're putting money into a blind pool. This is one of the most transparent investments an investor can take.
And in fact, one of the shortcuts that investors can use is our own website, which is REIT.com, REIT.com. And from the REIT.com website, we actually have links to the individual companies' websites for most of the REITs that are available for investors to invest in. So if you go to our website, you can screen out REITs according to which property type you're interested, or according to which part of the country you would like a REIT that's according to their headquarters state, for example. And then from there, you can use the links to go to their website and get more information about their management, as well as about their portfolio.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Brad, because your website's a fantastic resource for people looking to invest with REITs. And I urge you, if you're listening to this show and you're not driving, to go online and check out REIT.com now. While you're listening to this show, there's some great information there. And one of the things you guys mentioned was the specialties and the property types that these REITs are investing in. And like you said, most of them are specializing in one sector. And so these days, there's some new sectors and some real specialties, aren't there?
Yeah, the REIT market, the REIT rules are intended to encompass all types of real estate that produce income for investors to tap. That Congress set up REITs so that investors would be able to get the returns from investing in real estate without necessarily having the resources to buy an office building or buy a hotel. But as you say, the selection of property types that's available for investors does change over time. So at times in the market, for example, one of the growth areas in the economy is online services. And so one of the parts of the REIT industry is what we call data center REITs, REITs whose business is the ownership and management of specialized buildings where computer servers are housed. And so and so if you want to invest in that segment of the economy
in the cloud, right?
You want to do it.
You can invest in the cloud, right?
A mechanism that gives you steady income as well as capital appreciation. Then you can choose REITs that focus on that part of the economy.
That's right.
It's also important to note that these newer property types are in the context of a very broad market in the core types. If you're interested in investing in retail properties, office properties, apartments, those are long-established properties that make up the bulk of the REIT index. You also have things like healthcare that 20 years ago was considered a new asset class, but now it's a fairly traditional asset class and continues to provide very good returns. And these newer sectors that Brad was just talking about are just ways of showing how individual investors can invest and participate in these sectors of the economy.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you invest in specialties like self-storage, and there's a billboard REIT now, right?
Yes, there sure is.
Yeah, so it's amazing. Well, we're going to have to take a short break, and when we get back, we'll talk about some more of the benefits of investing in REITs, and we're going to talk about some of the dividend examples. The nice things about these REITs is they're paying dividends. So we'll get some more ideas and see how rising interest rates might impact REITs and commercial real estate. So stay with us. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. We'll be right back. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty, a great place to do business. Xceligent, information for the professionals. And Commercial Search, properties for sale and lease. To access these companies or for additional videos, podcasts, and articles, visit CREshow.com.